Hey, welcome to the Auction Professor live show tonight. Hopefully everybody is doing well. We've got some things going on. I've got some notes as I always do. I've got a new background today. Seasonal wise, maybe I'll just flop one out there seasonal wise. So just if it bothers somebody, let me know. But anyway, hopefully everybody can hear me now. Such a lovely day outside. Yes, it is. Thanksgiving's coming up, so I just put something different up here. The Halloween one's already gone and passed, so I just changed the background. Again, if you're not for sure on why I'm doing this, space-wise, I don't have any way to really video with having somebody help me, so we've just kind of moved it over to a different area for those of you who are new. So anyway, just an FYI. Just a few issues here. I wanted to address this one first. I was actually going to throw a video out, but I figured I would actually just talk about it today. If you haven't seen eBay's third quarter earnings, I really recommend you going to Wall Street Journal specifically and looking up at their third quarter earnings. For those people who said eBay wasn't doing well or they were having issues, the third quarter's earnings actually beat what they were actually projecting. eBay is actually doing well. They have not had issues, which is what I've said for all this time. This happens every year, and every year I hear the same thing. People complaining, is this the end of eBay? Is eBay done? eBay's losing money. eBay this, eBay that. It's a constant issue every single year. The same thing happens throughout the summer. But for those of you who do pay attention, just please go look at the Wall Street Journal article or any of the articles talking about eBay's third quarter. eBay is not done. eBay is actually improving. They actually, as I said, beat their earnings enough to actually add some to the bottom line. So, I don't see how anybody can say that's an issue with eBay if they actually beat their earnings. There's so many companies right now who have not met their earnings. eBay is not one of them. So, again, why I stand behind eBay? Because eBay doesn't have the overall issues that everybody keeps saying they do. Everybody's done with eBay. Everybody's moving on to another platform. That's fine with me if everybody wants to leave it. Not ranting against any of my subscribers here, just in general, because I constantly hear it. I'm going to go sell here. I'm selling there. I'm through with eBay. That's fine because my sales are going up because people are dropping off the site. That's fine with me. So eBay just makes up the difference. If they don't buy it from somebody else who's leaving the site, they're just going to buy it from one of us, you, me, or whoever else is online. So again, I don't worry about what other people say or think about, how eBay's doing personally. I look at it. I look at the numbers. I'm a financial guy, as I've said many times. I like numbers. I like the figures. I do projections. eBay, again, they do the same thing. There's nothing wrong. eBay hasn't done any issues that are going to affect their business to any degree of anything. So again, it's frustrating to have people criticize eBay all the time, especially when we're going into fourth quarter. Sales are up. Things are going good. I just don't get it. And I had a nasty email the other day, saying, eBay's down, they're dead, they're ending, why are you promoting them? I don't promote eBay. I just promote what I do. And for what I do not have the issues that everybody else seems to keep talking about. The only issue I've had this week was somebody couldn't read my description and only went by a title on one of my items and then wanted to return it. Well, actually, they didn't want to return it. Let me put it this way. They wanted a refund or they were going to report me. So anyway, they left a negative feedback, which will be off on the 11th. So they opened up a return and just wanted a refund. Anybody who opens up a return, even if they don't send the item back, any feedback they leave you will be removed, even if they don't send it back. So again, free returns are the bomb. I can't say that enough. Again, I hate to keep bringing this up, but for those of you who do not do free returns, it is the bomb. I'm telling you, you can't get negative feedback from a return at all. I mean, even if they don't send the item back. I was shocked when I found that out. I assumed because eBay's language on the actual printed material for the user agreement on that aspect of it does not say whether they return the item or not. And I put a phone call in. I was, wondering what I should do with the issue. Either way, this person got a ding on their account for a threat, and on the 11th, when they don't return the item because all they wanted was money, the feedback, my only negative feedback, will be removed on the 11th. I've already talked to eBay. It's a done deal. For those of you who do pay attention, and I called out a neutral that I had, it was instantly removed after calling eBay from just a few weeks ago for a toy that I sold. Again, anytime somebody returns something, eBay considers it, if you offered free returns, as a null sale, meaning that nothing happened. The person has no right to leave you negative or neutral feedback for an item they returned because they didn't keep it. All their money was refunded, so there's no discrepancies there. Now, had you not offered free returns, you would have kept every issue that you have. You would have a negative on there, you'd have a neutral on there. Whatever they left you for an item that was returned that wasn't on the free return, you would be sunk on it. For me, it's worth a couple bucks in postage to pay for have their item returned to not have a feedback. But again, if they're returning the item for some screwball reason or they're not being honest with you, you can withhold some of the money so you wouldn't be out even the return shipping, even though you technically are supposed to pay return shipping. Now, I've positive that's the way it works. I've talked to eBay twice now on that. So eBay is actually working towards fixing the issues that are going on now that some of the sellers are having. So again, for those who are jumping ship right now and hopping over to Poshmark or any of these other sites, nothing wrong with you selling on some other sites because we do. But if you're pulling all your items off, it's going to get better for the sellers from everything I heard. And I was given some information from a person at eBay, so I do believe they are honestly, sincerely understand what's going on with the market, why sellers are frustrated, and they are working on it. Again, the free returns issue was the best thing I've seen on eBay in I don't know how long. I don't care. Again, a couple bucks for the return shipping is worth saving me from getting a neutral or a negative that I shouldn't have had in the first place. Now, the item that I got the negative on, the person argued with me and said that I sold it as a book and they got a dust jacket, even though the listing specifically says no book included. So again, they can leave feedback for anything. Had you not had the free returns, you would be stuck with a negative feedback for no reason, just for the fact that the buyer did not read the description at all, nor did he look at the picture because no book is even shown. But anyway, just a little rant on that here. Just because, again, I get these emails from people and comments stating things that just aren't right. That's just not the way things work. So again, I've spent a lot of time on this. I'm not going to say I'm never wrong, but on the policies and how things work, if I don't know, I sure as heck pick up the phone and I call every time. I call every time I talk. I have a question. I'll just call. I put the phone down. I put it on speakerphone. The minute they pick up, then I start talking. No big deal. Who cares if I'm on hold for 10 minutes or whatever the case may be? Usually I call first thing in the morning when they open up and I get right through anyway. One other thing too, I had some folks talk about concierge service and a phone number that they were given. Now, for those of you who don't know about it, it was given out at the eBay Open. From everything I understand, the concierge is the exact same thing that you get with an anchor store or enterprise store above, which means that you have, quick access to a American call center every time. It's the same service, concierge and anchor store. From everything I can see, it might be called differently. They might have a different section in there, so it's separated in some aspect. But we get the exact same service as concierge if you have an anchor store or the enterprise level, which is the new one where you can list 100,000 items. So again, just keep that in mind. That's just the way it is these days. So again, if you have an anchor store, you get U.S. support every time, and it's a good plus for me. So it's great. I can't complain about the service on the phone calls lately. Every issue that I've had with eBay, and again, I get nothing from eBay. I don't get a dime from him. They don't ask me to do anything. So for those people who've said, I'm just paid by eBay, I get paid by nobody but myself. So every single issue that I have had with eBay has been corrected or fixed to my personal satisfaction. Every negative, every neutral, anything that's above and beyond what somebody can do, any threats, everything that happens on eBay lately has been improving. I can't say it enough. So again, anybody jumping off the bandwagon is crazy to do it this early in the game. So again, I've been doing this for 20 years. This is probably the best or I should say post the 5-star. When 5-star wasn't around, it was a lot easier in some aspects, but they're swinging back towards the seller now. So, they want to, offer us all these marketing ploys that, they get a higher percentage. They're actually offering more service to us as the seller. Now, maybe if you're just starting off, you don't have an anchor store, you don't have concierge, you're talking to someone foreign-wise. Nothing against foreigners, so don't take that as an immigration or anything like that. It's a cultural difference that they may not understand what you're trying to tell them. That's my only take on it, So Anyway, let's see who's here. I may not call out all the names at this point. I had some people saying stop wasting time calling out names. Everybody who's here is usually the same folks on, so I'll probably try and call out some names here to some of us, but if I miss your name, I may not go back up in there too much because I seem to waste some time and I don't get to answer all the questions because I'm, wasting time on things like that. But the goal of this live chat is to help people out and answer some questions. So again, I'm trying to improve the serviceability of my channel and all. So my views are going up, my subscribers are going up steadily. So, I've got some movement on it. I've gotten some recognition from some other sites as well, too. So, I'm not trying to brag or anything. I'm just trying to, let you know that things are going good, and we are planning on doing some major add-ons to the show and to the channel in general. So anyway, let me go see who's on here. Aaron, of course, we always see you here. Costa, Cindy Y. I had sent Cindy you a notice on that, and I didn't realize you wanted the A one for the Halloween. So I think it went out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But you got a postcard in there in the original art. I didn't hear back from you, and then I went back in and double checked the email, and I did see that you put A at the back. So that's the one you're getting for the original artwork. It's already in the mail. It should be to you shortly, I would imagine. So it's first class mail, so 2-3 days. Tracy Thrifts It, welcome. Diego, welcome. David Rubinio, the Veranda Files, Stephen Rose Resale, Tara Lee. Let me see here. Pop down here. Andrew, welcome again. Let me see here. Kathy, welcome. Iconic. Balfeld. Oh, German. Okay. Hello from Germany. Welcome. My family's actually from Germany original. My family's from Damsdorf, Germany. My great-great-grandfather was Burgermeister of the town at one time, so his name's on some blog. I've seen it before. Welcome, Chad. Big Joe, the video game, welcome again. Let me pop down here. John Phipps, welcome. Black Crystal Dice. And that looks like RVA Flips, welcome. The Truth, welcome. And YouTube's already acting up with my feed. So hang on just a second here. I just lost where I was at. Let me see here. It looks like we already got some questions. Let me pop back up and let's go with some questions now. The eBay, can you ship to a different address? Buyers are out in full force already, be alert. Yeah, I had one yesterday on that. Again, I don't ship. I don't care what anybody says. I watched another video on another channel, and their answer was to just go ahead and send it to the one as long as they send it to you in an email through eBay. It was okay. That's not true. So if you're watching other channels and they're telling you it's okay to send it to another address if the person asks through eBay, that is not true at all. I've talked to eBay. Anybody could have sent that to through their email who had contact with their account. So it has to go to the address in the payment no matter what. You cannot alter that address. So just FYI. For those of you who sell on Amazon or even buy off Amazon, Amazon's having a huge issue right now, worse than I've seen on eBay, where people are doing dummy listings. I've had a couple done that I had to report just the other day that it was my item. Not only was it my item, but it was my postcard that somebody had copied and made a listing just like it and was selling it in Canada. Reported it was gone in 2 days. But the point is that they're doing this. I don't know what they're sending out when they sell something, because they're not sending out my card, obviously. So anyway, on Amazon, I'm more worried now than I was ever on eBay. Again, just because it can ruin your reputation. Amazon's answer to several of the people who I've talked to who had it was to delete your ASIN number, which is your number for the item. So when they delete that, you are forced to start a new listing. And with a new listing, you lose all feedback and comments on that item. So I hate when I hear that was their response to it. But anyway, enough on Amazon here. Let me pop down here. You're on the New Jersey Turnpike. I feel sorry for you, Andrew. Yeah, Tracy, they have to do it in prior to payment. I'm sure that Costa, I believe, is talking about after the payment has been placed. But if that's not the case, they can change it in their system. They have to change it. You cannot go in and alter a address in eBay and send it to a different address other than the address on the payment notice. Even if they ask you to, that is not legit by eBay standards. It has to go to the address in the payment notice. So if they wanted to go to a different address, they needed to have put it in there prior to the payment so it's correct. I've been told that you could go in and do it after the payment's been made, but I haven't seen any way on earth that that works, nor have I heard of anybody else. I have not asked that question on eBay since I haven't had to call them in a few days. But again, if eBay, or if it's going through the email, even if they ask you for another address, don't do it. Go about the long way of canceling it, relisting it, and having them change their address, because then you are covered. Anything happens to that item and you send it to an address, even if they ask you to send it to them, they can open up a case that it did not go to the address on the payment, and they will 100% get a refund for that item, and they can actually give you negative feedback. Their kid could have changed the address. Anybody in their house who has access to that PC or whatever they're using to do it, they could have set their phone down. That would be their explanation on why. There's people who scam that try to get you to send it to a different address because they know that if you send it to a different address that they do not have to pay you for it. Basically, they can keep it and say, it didn't go to my house. I don't know where it went to. It's not mine, and they're covered. So just keep that in mind. And I've went around about this, and I've talked to eBay, and that is what I was told. So, and I'm pretty confident that that's the case as well, too. Let's go down and see what we got here. Yeah, Tracy, on that, sending it to a different, again, as I said, I have been told otherwise, and if you read the actual, policy, it states it must go to the address in the system. Again, you can talk to 6 different reps depending on what kind of service that you have. If you're talking to one of the foreign reps, you can get 6 different answers. I very much trust the folks that I talk to here locally in California, who I've talked to at the help desk there for the U.S. help desk, and everyone has told me the same thing, that it must go to the address in the system. If there's something else going on, no one at the U.S. location that I've talked to, and I've talked to the same person many times, has said that you have to do it to the address in the system. So again, they can claim anything. They can claim that they did not send that email, just like people claim that they didn't place an order. They don't know how it got. Somebody hacked their account. That's all they have to say, and then boom, you are liable. So I would not trust whatever was said or whoever said that to you, just again, because I have talked to them many times on this issue. I will not do it. I read the user agreement. I read the actual changes, the summer update. All the updates are very specific. Until they actually post it in words on one of their pages, I will not do anything other than have them change it, relist and, have them replace the offer. Only once have I had a person not be willing to do that, and I lost, like a $7 sale. It just wasn't worth it to me. I follow the rules, just like when folks ask you to ship things in a correspondence letter to Canada or to the UK. Again, when you ship something out of this country, it has to have an import-export slip on it. I don't care what it is. If it was a purchased item, it has to have that. That is a law in this country, and that is definitely a law in Canada and UK 100%, because they have to pay a fee on it if it's over $20. That's why it has to be recorded on those export-import forms. And again, like even sending to the folks, the German folks here, you can't send certain things to Germany. They are banned. So if you send it in a regular envelope and for some reason that is open, you can be in some trouble with, the German government for sending stuff that were banned in that country. So again, I never send anything to another country without the export import, and on top of that, I have to have tracking to keep my top rated seller plus status. So again, you can't put something in a correspondence envelope and expect tracking, nor can a correspondence envelope have the slip on it. Correspondence is for only correspondence, meaning conversation. You can send a photo or something if it's something they didn't buy, like a personal family photo or something. That's all legit, but merchandise cannot go that way. There's very specific rules on it, and I know people sit there and they bypass it or they'll change the amount. The U.S. Postal Service has direct contact with every single slip that you pay for through eBay. I can tell you 100%, because what the post office has started to do now is if you didn't charge enough, they bill you straight through eBay. So the item now ships to the person it's going to, but you'll get a notice in your eBay email stating that the postage wasn't enough, or I've had this happen twice now that I overcharged and they gave me a refund without even asking, which I was shocked as can be. But the post office has better a system than I could ever have imagined. They have pictures of every package that goes through the system. They can track it numerous ways. You know, stuff does get lost, but they have very good tracking. I'm not going to alter any forms on eBay because those are legal forms. Those are legal documents through, you know, the post office. So don't change anything for anybody. If you think it's going to get you a sale, it can also get you in trouble. In the past, you only had to worry about getting in trouble from the other country, which what could they do to you? Nothing. But nowadays, with, you know, the post office is fully linked in with eBay. I can guarantee you at this point, again, because as I said, I get notices occasionally when I've do a refund on some items. So, and I was just shocked when the first one came through. So again, they've integrated the system very exclusively, very extensively. So anything you do could come back and haunt you, you know, months from now. Statute of limitation on this, if you're doing it all the time, they can go after you. They can fine you. They can do, you know, numerous things. eBay could probably ban you from actually using online payments for postage, maybe even at some point. So again, be cautious on what you do with that. Shipping address is very specific as well too. So again, keep that in mind. This is from 20 years plus of doing this. This is from me talking to eBay, you know, average maybe once a week just to, you know, check on things or, you know, question something, you know, because we do a lot of business. So, you know, I've got hundreds and hundreds of things going each week out in the mail. So I do have issues to call them. It's just part of doing a business. Just like the folks who get mad about stuff like that. You know, there's no sense in getting mad at eBay, you know, if somebody's screwing you over on a purchase, because it's the buyer, it's not eBay. And the buyer's not screwing you over, they're just screwing over somebody, eBay, as far as they're concerned. So when somebody's ripping off somebody on eBay, they're not thinking it's a person, they're just thinking it's eBay and eBay will cover it. You know, that's just the standard. I see that and hear that all the time from people. Constantly I hear it. You know, so anyway, let's see what we got here down here. Let me see here. The random file. The real issue with eBay seems to be the poor communication with their sellers. If they could fix that, I bet the complaints would be much less. Again, for me, I talk to the local one. I don't know the Veranda Files if you have the Anchor Store or higher. If you're talking to a out-of-country help desk, I do see that there are issues across the board because they just don't understand or they're new people. But every time I call support for an Anchor Store support, I've gotten, you know, satisfaction, you know, and I'm not trying to stick up for eBay at all because, again, I sell on Amazon, I sell on Discogs, we were on Poshmark for a while. I've got 7 platforms I sell on. So, you know, I sell in other places. I get the experience. I have no reason to stick up for eBay over someone else. You know, they all have issues, but we do make the majority of our money off of eBay. So, anyway. Let me see here. Yeah, Costa, I wouldn't, they can change it, you know, if they, yeah, you cancel the order. That would be your best bet to do. Again, as I said on that, they can do whatever they want. Just because, you know, you talk to a rep and they said that, I've read the policy. I've read what it says. It has to go to the address and the payment notice. There's no other options about it. That's literally what it says. So, let me see here. The truth. I don't get poor feedback. However, I still believe feedback for buyers is needed on best offers. I still believe immediate payment should be required. Yeah, I don't worry if it's immediate payment on any of that. Personally, I don't get bad feedbacks. This one, I've got, as I said, I've got 1 negative, which will be off. It's just somebody who literally, and they have hidden feedback on top of it. So, you know, they literally said, give me a refund or I'm going to report me. I don't know what they could report me for, but you know, they're not allowed to demand a refund, and that's against the rules to actually use the return. So they actually got a ding, and I know they did, you know, so anyway. I don't worry about all that in my aspect. Because, again, my feedback it's 100 even with a negative. Just because I sell so many items, I could take a couple negatives and it still would be 100%. So just keep that in mind. It all bases on how many items you've sold. So 1 negative feedback may be like 0.2 of 1%. So, you know, it has to be over 0.5 just to hit your feedback at all, really. So, you know, and mine, it was way lower than that anyway. So, again, I still have 100 even with a negative. We have an Anchor Store. Yeah, Anchor Store for us is the best, but again, you have to have the 10,000 items to make it worth the while, or at least enough over the line where it's cheaper to have an Anchor Store versus having, a lower level store and then paying for the extra listings. As of January, we're probably going to go to a third Anchor Store. We kind of wanted to wait through fourth quarter and just see how things are going. When you open up another store, somebody had asked me this question: why would I want multiple stores? And then another person actually said, why wouldn't you open up multiple stores right away when you have that many items? Part of the problem when you open up another store is you have to be able to make sure you're not mixing up which one you're on, because you have to have different logins, different emails for each store you have. And not only that, when you first start off with a new Anchor Store, your feedback's zip. So with zero feedback in all these items, it's, I shouldn't say suspicious to some people, but there's no track record to show. So that's the issue with it. Your best bet is, which was what we do. I run a low-level store until I can get some good feedback coming in, and that's what we're working on right now on one of our other stores. It's a low-level store, and I'll be transferring 10,000 listings, or at least 6,000 or 7,000 listings to another store as of January. As of right now, it may change if we're still slamming in January, which we very well could be the way it's looking. So, anyway, let me see here. Terapeak is going to be included for sellers. Not sure on how much will be included at each store level, but that info will be coming soon. I think the rollout starts on November 12th. I've actually seen the Terapeak. I personally don't mess with any of that. I wouldn't waste my time. Again, you do what you want with that. It can be helpful to some folks, but I'm not going to mess with that too much. They don't have the same tools either to resolve it. Yeah, if you're talking about overseas, they can only do so much on the overseas, from what I understand. But again, I don't have any overseas conversations anymore at all. It's been a long time since I had to talk to someone outside the U.S. Because we've had Anchor Stores for a long, long time. John, welcome. I haven't seen you. You're 50, and I honestly do remember that because you actually made a post that said that even. So, glad to have you. Let me see here. I had an issue that lasted 50 days with my store. eBay wasn't able to fix or find the fix. Another seller on the community board fixed it. To me, that is unacceptable. I don't know what the issue is, the truth, so it's kind of hard to say what was going on. I believe you were talking about that in another one. I'd be interested to know how they fixed it, just curiosity's sake. Mr. Mark, what is a good resource for finding more info on paper items that sell well? Pictures, stamps, maps, etc. Thanks in advance. I cover a bunch of these. I mean, comp searches are your best way to find out any information. I saw all of what you're talking about there. I'm going to have some more bolos coming out. I've got 4 more bolo videos ready to go right this minute. So I'm covering some of these issues. I've got one on on pictures. I do sell stamps. I do collect and have a huge collection of stamps, so I don't sell a ton. I usually sell the lower end ones online just to get them out in big bulk lots. But all of that stuff is high dollar, or can have high dollar items in it too. So anyway, let me see here. YouTube's bopping around again. Hang on just a second here. YouTube just lost my feed again. Here we go. Yeah, hit the like button if you haven't. I always forget to say stuff like that. I need to probably promote the channel a little better, but I'm more about the content, I guess, than anything else. Let me see here. Well, thank you, Mr. Mark. Again, the costume jewelry, it can set for a while, but you get the right pieces, it's going to go really, really quick. Anything that you could consider runway, big, gaudy, which I've shown some pieces. I believe I showed some even in my haul video or even on the Halloween. I got some really nice runway jewelry the other day. And I've already sold one piece, I mean, literally the day I put it up, within an hour or so. So again, it depends on what it is. We almost always do buy it now bins for everything with best offer. That's just our philosophy, that you'll get more money across the board for a bin as you would for an auction, because auctions aren't what they used to be. 15, 20 years ago, auction was the way for everything. There wasn't as many options to even do what you can do now. It just used to be an auction site, at one time. So anyway, let's go down here. Let's see where we're at. Welcome, Nancy. Allie Ann, tin can, copper kettle, brass pan, Fernley. Well, thank you. That's a long name to say. Let's see here. On Italian time, welcome. Kathy, welcome. Yeah, everything's working fine. I'm actually looking at the live feed right now, Kathy. So I would say if you're not seeing any movement of the feed, reload your screen. Just reload the window. Closet Gamer, welcome. Will you take less? Welcome again. Welcome back from the UK. Yeah, on I see Tracy and Costa, on the per buyer's request, no matter how you cancel a listing, they can still leave you negative feedback. Just keep that in mind. You can cancel it any way you want. But again, anybody who has this thing, if you cancel it, even if it says canceled by buyer's request, they can still leave feedback, negative feedback for you. Now, if they told you to specifically and you can back it up, you can fight it on getting a feedback removed if they happen to do that. So just keep that in mind. I usually try to get them to literally word for word state it with some type of identifiable information. You can't win them all, but again, on those, I'm always hesitant on canceling, and I'm usually pretty honest on why I cancel it. So just FYI. Let me see here. Yeah, reload the page, as I said. Thanks on time, on Italian time. Yeah, feed, I'm sorry, I'm bad on that sometimes. Yeah, you can list it as something wrong with the address. That is a legitimate cause. If they're telling you to send it to a different address, that is a bona fide reason to do it. They can come back and say they didn't send the email. That's something else I've heard. I've got a lot of people I talk to, so I've been around the block way more times than I care to go into. So anyway, there's all kinds of ways people can scam you. The only way to be 100% safe is to follow the rules to the letter. And then, you can get stuff taken care of, just like the feedback and things like that. So I almost never have any kind of negative feedback. But the only two negative, well, one was a neutral, and it was for a returned item. The person expected this thing to be mint. It was a toy that showed pieces broken and even said they were pieces broken. But they were upset with the condition. And it was a third of what a better condition one would have sold for. So, it was just somebody who was being difficult. You're going to get those, if like for us, we've got thousands of feedback. We're heading towards the 10,000 mark on this store. So you're going to get them. For every couple thousand or so, you're going to get at least one or something of somebody who's not happy with something for some stupid reason. You can't make everybody happy. It's just not possible. Our promoted listings... Wait, hang on. Let me say I don't want to miss anybody here. I just see when I said, welcome, Sandy. Sable Ducks, if you post that down in the description here underneath the video once it's done, I'll go and get that for you and post that in the feed in here because I do talk about slides on several of them. It might not just be slides. I've got 300 and some odd videos, so unfortunately I don't remember every one. If you're in my Patreon group, you get a complete list of every video and what's in every single video. I've got a new update coming out this week to my Patreon, as well as I've got a video coming up this week for Patreon subscribers only, and a second video already shot for Patreon as well too. This month there'll probably be 3 videos in Patreon alone. So, and again, those are just for the folks in the Patreon group who pay the specific level. Anyway, let's go back down since I don't want to miss anybody. Are promoted listings worth it, so what is the best way to use the option? What items would benefit from being promoted? I only promote items that there's multiple sellers selling the exact same item. And it's usually only new items, video games, specific clothing or shoes, or even sometimes some of the retail arbitrage or wholesale items. I do not ever promote anything antique or collectibles because all it's going to take is the right person on. So you could promote it every which way you can on some items, and unless that 1 or 2 people are online at that exact time, it's not going to do you any good. So I never promote any antiques, collectibles of any kind ever. Because again, it's just not worth it. I do markdown sales on my own, which I do not pay eBay a fee for at all. It's under the Markdown Manager or whatever the technical name of it is now. I think it says promotions now in the hub. But again, I don't do promoted listings. I don't pay eBay a dime for anything for any reason. And I know people say, you know, do the 1% on the promoted, and that way you'll get some movement. Most of the people who do stuff like that are people who are selling clothing or something like that, where you need the extra boost because there's 1,000 other people selling similar items up on eBay now. So you don't need to do that, and I would never recommend it on anything vintage or antique. And I never do it. You can look at my listings. The only thing I do, we've got a whole bunch of store-wide sales going on. I'm going through and filtering out old items now, which I usually do at the end of the year. Ian was here today, and he's here actually right now on the other side. You'll get to see him on some new videos here. We're going to have him a little feed so he can see, because he's going to help out with some of the live feed a lot more and be showing some items when we're talking about them. So I need a second set of hands here to do that. So again, you'll see a little picture-in-picture probably with Ian coming up soon. But anyway... again, no promoted listings, as I said. I don't do it that way. But if you're selling shoes, clothing, you kind of have to. I know, you know, there's been less and less sellers of clothing on eBay because they're all being scared off by all the comments and watching other YouTubers just saying eBay's bad, go sell on Poshmark, go sell on Bonanza, and all these other sites. Again, nothing wrong with selling on other sites, but I would never, you know, pull off my listings off one site just to stick them on another site with no bona fide track record at all. I've got a track record with eBay. You know, even Bonanza or Poshmark, you know, the folks who are on it think it's, you know, well known for everybody. But I ask people, you know, quite often, have you heard of Poshmark? Most people I talk to do not know what it is other than certain groups of people. So, again, name recognition is the key for the business as well. So you've got Amazon and eBay, the top two. You know, there's foreign ones. I'm talking about U.S. ones, you know, because we deal with Alibaba too. So, and I know people hate it, you know, talking about China, but there's certain electronic items that, you know, we do, because I do other stuff that you don't see, obviously. And my son does stuff too, and he makes, he's doing some electronics that he actually is now selling. And, you know, the only place that even supplies what he needs is from China. So, you know, unfortunately, in some aspects, you're stuck with it. So, but anyway. Hopefully that answers your question on that. Yeah, Tracy, I don't know who you talk to or if it's a U.S. support or not, but I can tell you for sure what the guide says, what the actual user agreement and the updates say, that it has to be the payment address. It has to be. You know, they can tell you whatever, but all they have to do is come back and say they didn't send that email and you're stuck. I'm telling you, because you send it to a different address than the payment address. So, and I've been told this for years that that's the case, and I was even sent a copy of what it says and where it says it at in the user agreement or the updates. So, and it hasn't changed from the beginning. You know, I'll call back and I'll get a quote from somebody if needed, but you know, I'm very confident that that's the case after doing this for 20 plus years. So, you know, in the past I've heard people that did not get a refund and the buyer was out because they sent it to a different address, and it still happens even to this day. You know, whether it's a scam or not, I don't mess with that at all, because you are not supposed to, you know, be changing addresses for shipment. You know, it's supposed to be reported as a problem with the buyer's address. That's literally the option there, and that is why that option is there from all accounts. What I say, that way you can click problem with the buyer's address, and then you would cancel it, relist it, and they would have the correct address listed. That is why that option is actually there. So anyway, not trying to start an argument or anything else. Again, I've talked to them many times. The U.S. reps here, and the rep that I talk to actually sells. I talked to the same girl. Geez, I've probably talked to her 12 or 15 times, and she quoted literally from the actual piece of paper. They have whether they have a book or whether it's, you know, online or whatever the case may be. She read off the actual line what it says. Just like it's the same when I talked to her over the returns. She literally read off what it says. So I mean, I fully will go with that. You know, you're welcome to do however you want. Maybe it works fine for you, but if an issue arises, you are liable because you did not send to the correct address, regardless of what the person says. I've had people come back, and I've had 3 probably this year that said they didn't order something, or they actually closed out their their cart and paid off everything and didn't realize it, and then it turned into a big old stink. So I've went over some of these issues about other people getting access to their account or it not being done unintentionally. And if the item goes out at that case, you can be liable if it didn't go to the right address. So anyway, not trying to beat a dead horse here. Let me see. Yeah, RVA flips. It is a pain, but you are not covered under seller protection. I can tell you 100%. That's what it literally says in there. There's a separate section, and she read off the entire thing. I don't question what she said at all. Again, because I've talked to this person for, maybe a year and a half. Because there's very few people that answer the phone at 7 o'clock California time. When I'm calling. So, I'm very confident that that's the case, and I don't see. If it wasn't the case, she's told me this many times, and not only that, I had her read off where it says it. She sent me a copy of the actual document that states it must go to the actual payment address to be covered by seller protection. Yeah, they can tell you it's fine to send it to their address, but if a seller protection case comes up, you are liable. You did not follow the seller protection rules. The rules specifically state. Now, that may be different. The seller protection rules may be different, from the rep standard from the actual ability to do it. But again, the problem with the seller or with the buyer's address is specifically there to cover you so you can say that their address was wrong. That is what it's there for. There'd be no other reason to have that. Yeah, again, RVA flips. You can take the chance if it's a low dollar item. It is, you could get burned. But, I do it for every item. I've got the same policy. I don't alter my policies no matter what. I don't care if it's a $10 item, a dollar item. I stick to the same rules and regulations for everybody. And I would always recommend everybody doing that only because if you get somebody who's trying to test you or you've got somebody after you or whatever the case may be, they can try and get, two different people to get two different results, and then they can call it discrimination. You're discriminating, or let him do it, and then I can't do it. I have a flat rule. I worked with people in hospitality, and you have to set the same standards for everybody, because I've been in a restaurant that was sued because one manager let one person do something and that same manager wouldn't let somebody else do it, and it turned into a legal issue of discrimination. So, I'm very cautious in everything. I do the same rule. I don't, unless it's supposed to, change, I don't alter my ploy on anything. I do the same thing every time, no matter what. I don't care, $1, $2, $10, $1,000. It goes the same way. Just like I constantly have somebody from the UK trying to get me to send an item in correspondence mail. I won't do that because, again, it can't be sent through eBay. There's no tracking. They can claim anything they want at this point. I just don't do it. I'm just, everything goes through eBay. Everything goes the legal way, which means export-import slips, which means it has to go first class international if it's going overseas, no matter what. So, I'm very stickler on the rules. It's kept me out of a lot of trouble, so just keep that in mind. There's risks. Just because eBay says you can send it to a different address doesn't mean that the seller protection is going to cover you. Because if you don't do seller protection to the letter, they do not have to cover that item. I can tell you for sure. I've had issues, and I've talked to, I talk to a lot of people these days, more so than I've ever talked to before related to eBay. Because most of if I'm talking to somebody, 90% of everybody I talk to is related to eBay right this minute. Family is the other 10%. If that gives you an idea, is how much I talk to people, and I get emails and letters and comments and feedback. People even message me through eBay asking questions for the auction professor too. So I talk to. There might be days where I have 40 or so different people asking questions, through emails and stuff. Not a typical day, but, that's days I've had. So, I've heard every single option you can imagine from people. So, anyway. Let's see where we're at. Will you take less? Do you list and forget, or do you have a purge now and then and clear out sticky stock? Yeah, right now I'm doing a purge right now. We're going to purge a bunch of items. I think I estimated like 620 items I'm going to purge. Now, I'm not going to trash them all. There'll just be some that I'll just bulk lot up, and then I'll just sell them that way. They're still decent items. I just don't want to mess with, under a certain value anymore. So I've actually done a search through our stores, and anything below a certain dollar amount, I'm just not going to mess with anymore. I'm trying to raise my low end. I used to do $7.99, and I still do for certain items that I know will sell. but I'm trying to bump it to like a $9.99 list and nothing below that. In the past, when I first started off, I listed items that were lower that should sell, and if they didn't sell in a certain length of time, I usually didn't pull them. But nowadays, I'm just pulling them off, just because we've got so much coming in these days. I'm not really worried about how many items I have up at this point, again, because it is fourth quarter. Now, come summer, it'll be a different case. But right now, I usually try and clear off junk inventory before the end of the year. As I said, I don't buy as much this time of year. For one thing, during this time of year, you're going to pay more. That's just a fact. So if you didn't know that, you're paying more because there's less items for sale. So that's one reason why I do buy through the summer. Plus, around here in the winter, there might be 4 or 5 feet of snow on the ground, and there's no estate sales, there's no garage go to a thrift store. The very few thrift stores that are even open anymore, and they're going to be snowed in, and people aren't dropping off stuff when the weather's bad. So there's not going to be an influx of new items at the thrift stores either until after Christmas or right before Christmas, when people are getting rid of items so they can have some more room. And I wanted to call this out too here. If you're not paying attention to thrift stores and the prices, I've had people telling me that they're seeing prices even on like a used VCR for $59 at a Goodwill. Prices are going through the roof on thrift stores right now. You're going to see more and more thrift stores going under because they're trying to be the person that's selling the items now online, as opposed to letting you buy the items. And if you've gone to a thrift store trying to flip stuff, you probably run into thrifters and stuff and eBayers at every thrift store you go to these days. I would have to guess that at least half or more of every person walking into a thrift store is nowadays trying to buy something to turn around and resell. And I think the thrift stores are catching on to this drastically bad. And again, Savers here, the two Savers that were in this town, ran themselves out of business. I mean, you couldn't even get a used T-shirt at the Savers over here for $5.99. Now, I can go to like Burlington Coat Factory and get a brand new T-shirt sometimes for $4 or $5. Why would I get one from Savers it might make me an extra $3 or $4 when I can just get a brand new one and be done with it? So just keep that in mind. You're going to see more and more, and I've had 3 or 4 people just this week tell me that a Savers closed down, or Goodwill was having issues and things like that. So again, thrift stores are getting harder and harder to make a good flip on, so you're going to have to branch out. And that's another reason why I'm showing all these BOLOs, because without knowing a ton of items, this isn't just going to work, because you're not going to be able to find enough of any niche item for the most part, unless you've been doing this for a long time and have those inside sources like we do. Not just us, there's a ton of other people who have a ton of inside sources and do wholesale. There's Rally Roots, I know people watch them, and I've watched some of them. But they do wholesale too. They do some of the along the lines of what we do. So, I can see their points in some things and stuff like that. But I'm not a big fan on watching any other YouTuber. Nothing against any other YouTuber. I just don't have the time. So, but just for an example, wholesale wise, you have to have some other in to make this work, like on Amazon and stuff. The only way you can get ungated in certain areas is to have a wholesale deal. So that's why we do wholesale towards Christmas, so we have some invoices. Is once you submit the invoices, they usually don't even ask you for months and months on end. I know it's supposed to be every 3 months. They're supposed to research you in a certain category, but Amazon's gotten too big. They don't have anybody going and fleecing those and checking those back up. So once you're in, you're good till the next year. They may check you out in Christmas time, but I doubt it even, because they haven't even asked for slips from me for a year and a half or so. I've got them now, so I'm not too worried. We got ungated in like CDs with wholesale slips on those, and Christmas items and toys just by doing wholesale purchases. To get wholesale purchases, though, like us, I got them in January. So, and I knew people that already got them last year for Christmas, before last year's Christmas for this Christmas. So those are even getting harder to do. So if you're interested in advancing your business to like a wholesale aspect, I would honestly recommend you looking into it right this minute for next year. It's probably way too late to get anything going for this year. Retail arbitrage is always out there. So if you're paying any attention, there's some good retail arbitrage items out right this very second. I was out shopping today. I'm not going to holler any of those out because I don't want anybody getting them from my personal aspect of it. But if you do some research and some stuff, there's retail arbitrage going on right now. It's getting real close to Black Friday, so this is the time to be doing it, to have your stuff in place, especially if you're doing FBA or selling your own personal items on Amazon or even on eBay for that matter. So anyway, let me see here. Welcome, Annie. I had someone change from a foreign to U.S. address certainly after I'd sent them an invoice, and it caused all kinds of kerfluffle, but eBay fixed it. Yeah, I have had that happen. That as long as they're willing to, most people who buy from a foreign one, they don't want to pay the shipping, and that happens a lot with foreign addresses. They'll give you like their brother or cousins in there. As long as they put it in the system, it's going to be fine. And I have people that already have 2 or 3 different separate addresses in PayPal as well as eBay, so they can switch it depending on. And I have people that buy, from England and other countries, and they already know that to have another address ready. So the ones who do it all the time, especially in collectibles, now newer items and books and things like that, it may not quite be the same. But with collectibles, most people who deal with me, and again, as I said, every day of the week I have a return customer of some sort, every single day of the week these days, especially in fourth quarter. Summer-wise, it's not as many, but we constantly have people coming back because, again, I have one of the largest assortments of certain items online. And, they have to come to me, if they want certain items. There's no way around it. They're stuck. So, I mean, not that they're stuck because I offer great service, but anyway. Yeah, Tracy, it depends on the reps. Again, and it depends. Ask them, if you talk to them again, ask them about seller protection. That's what you were more interested in. It doesn't matter what you can or can't do. It matters if you're covered. All I worry about is that I'm covered for that. If I send it to a different address and I'm not covered, I'm not sending it to another address. Yeah, it may be legit and eBay may be okay with it. But again, seller protection is the issue. That is the only issue I am worried about. I don't care about any other aspect of it. Seller protection states it has to go to that address, and that's all I care about. RVA flips. Yeah, that's a big... Well, it depends. That's listing-wise, yeah. That's a lot of money to pay for 1,652 listings. But again, I do like the U.S. support. I can't speak enough about the people I talk to because I always get, a straight answer. And it's almost like they already know what you're gonna hit them with because, one of the conversations that she said, I know you're trying to get an answer from us on every single option that could happen with this sale, and I said, well, yeah, I am to an extent because in the past, usually the seller got screwed, So, and I know buyers get screwed sometimes too, but, as a seller, it always ended up that the buyer would get what they want. Nowadays, it's not so much that way. It's actually steering back towards the seller. I know people will tell you otherwise, but from my personal experience as an anchor store anyway, U.S. support with free returns, the issues have almost gone away. I mean, I as long as they open up a return, I have nothing to worry about. I could care less after that point. That's why if somebody has an issue, I always tell them to open up a return. Please go open up a return. I'll be happy to handle, but it has to go through the return process, no matter what, even if they want a partial refund on something. That way, no matter what happens, you've coaxed them into doing the return. The minute they open the return, you are free and clear from all feedback, even if they're unhappy with whatever the outcome is on it. So, of course, I want everybody to be happy, but you can't make everybody happy. So just keep that in mind. And again, as I said, seller protection is all that matters. It doesn't matter what you can or can't do. Seller protection is what matters. I cover myself every which way I can. And I'm very careful. I'm very selective. And again, I have the same policy and same rules for everything. I don't change. I don't bounce around or nothing. Let me see here. Duncan VR, welcome. How do you deal with items that are getting low views on eBay and get them sold? What's your tactic to get the less popular collectible items seen by more people? There's no tactic to get something seen if it's a specific collectible. Collectibles take the right person to be online. If I know it's a good item, if I know there's sales history for it, if I know I've sold the item before, I'm just going to let it run till the right person comes online. If that's a year down the road, that's fine with me. Because it's only, 48 cents to list depending on where I'm at for a whole year. You're averaging 4 to 5 cents, listing fee. So, 48 cents to 60 cents to list an item. If I paid $1 for it, it's a $40 item. If I've got to let it run for 2 years and I know it's a good item and I know I've sold it before, I don't have a problem with letting it run that long. Now, if it's a $10 item or a $5 item, it's just not worth letting it run more than a certain length of time. So, there's no specific way to get your items done other than knowing what the keywords would be, the best keywords. One other option you can do, too, is change the category it's in. Now, I've been talking about this a lot. This is something I haven't talked about until recently. The number one thing to do when you're buying items in a niche is to have a niche that has 5, well, any more than 3 or 4 categories is great. So if you've got a niche item that has, cross-category interest, those will increase your chances of selling any item that you can get immensely. So let's say we've got a postcard that has military content. You can sell that postcard in the postcard section. You can sell that postcard in the military section. So that's a specific example. Just like sheet music. If I buy a piece of sheet music that is military oriented, I can sell it in the sheet music section. I can sell it in the military section. Yeah, that's only 2 categories for those, but I try to get items that are multiple category items. Like if you got a trade card or something that's, for tobacco, and a specific tobacco company, and it's from a specific city, and it's a trade card. So you've got a trade card collector that might want it, you've got a city collector that might want it, and you've got a tobacco collector that might want it. So that's what you want. That is your best bet to get better sales anywhere, is to have cross-category interest. Now, I've talked about it scarcely on it, but that is a ploy that I've done for years. And unfortunately, I didn't think about pulling that out, 4 months ago when I started doing videos, or 5 months ago, whatever it was. But, I'm trying to touch bases on the things that I think of that maybe I don't think to holler out to everybody. But cross-category interest is the number one thing that will get your sales better, is to stick to items. If you have a choice to buy, out of 10 different items and one could sell in a bunch of different categories, always pick that item. I don't care what the other items are. If you've got a higher chance of selling it because it can be sold multiple areas, that's what you do. And when it can be sold in multiple categories and you don't sell it in the first, say, 3, 4, 5 months, switch it to one of the other categories and switch the title around, and then see. And if it doesn't sell in another month or 2, switch it to another category. I switch categories all the time. And to know, what I need to switch, I'll run 30-day auctions on just those kind of items, and that way at the end of the 30 days I'll say, hey, look, what do I want to do? I'll either just automatically relist it, or I will address the categories. And you can address a whole bunch of categories all at once when you're doing it that way too. Especially if you end them on the same day, you can just go into and mass edit them all at the same time, 500 at a time, and you can change the categories on them. So again, that's what we do. That increases our sales across the board. So, when I'm out sourcing or out searching or picking at a picker's place or something, I'm looking for the items that have the best sellability. Again, because I got so many items here, I've got so much back stock that I don't really worry too much about it. So hopefully that answers the question, gives you a little insight on that. There's many other ploys you can do, but that's key. Cross-category listings are the best items to get. Let me see here. There we go. YouTube just lost my feed again. Hang on just a second. Let me get back to where I was now. Sable Ducks. Yeah, I try to do it, by the book, and I go by what the seller protection. All I'm worried about is protecting my business. So $10 may not seem like much, but if you lose $10 here, $10 there, it's all going to whittle away at your profit. So I'm not talking about the help desk. I'm talking about eBay's communication to the sellers. I don't know what communication issues you were having, but for me, everything that they do is listed in their updates. It's listed in the user agreements, or you can literally just do a search on eBay in the help section, and it'll pretty much answer pretty much every question. I mean, you can even go in nowadays and click your items, and it's going to tell you the exact fees down to the cent on everything. I mean, I don't know what aspect you're specifically talking about, but every aspect that I see, I can find an answer for on eBay in their official, guide. I mean, it's all there. The seller updates, whatever it is, it tells you every specific. And if you're not sure on a certain area, call the help desk and ask them where that is printed-wise. You can even print out the entire thing if you want. It's huge, so I wouldn't recommend doing it. But, I've downloaded a copy of it once before. So, anyway, you can find out any information. Maybe they don't specifically tell each person everything, but in those updates, every piece of information that's useful to you is typed up in those lists into the updates, word for word. I read it all. So again, it's all available. Maybe they don't post it up on everybody's page or whatever the case may be, but it's all there where you can dig for it and find it. So again, it's just a matter of searching and doing your research on what the policy says. And if you're not sure, again, I just call the help desk and I ask them, where does it say this? What's covered here? Like, say, the return policy, for example. Call them up. Ask them what it says. They will read it off to you if that's what needs to happen, because they've done that. I wanted to know what it said word for word, and she, sure enough, in a matter of like 5 seconds, was able to read off word for word the entire length of whole paragraph wise of the return policy. So on the free returns, that is. So I don't have the issues with communications for what's going on, because I've read the entire user agreement. I only know a handful of people who've actually done that. So, it's to the detriment of the seller if you don't read everything on there. And I take notes. I took notes on the key things that I wanted to make sure on. And if you're not sure on something, write it down and then call eBay up. Get a bunch of questions together and ask them. They don't care if you just call just to ask questions and you don't have an issue. I'll do that even myself, because it's just a matter of dialing the number. It's on speed dial on my phone. I'll put it on speaker and I'll set the phone down. And so I'm just still doing my normal business, and the minute I hear somebody come up, I can pick it up. So, it's not a big ordeal to wait on the phone even for a few minutes or even 40 or 50 minutes. It's annoying, but, I'm still doing other stuff, so it's not hurting my business anyway. Not trying to make light of your issue for end of files, but, for us, the information's available. It just may take some digging, and it may take you calling the help desk to find out the specifics. Again, I don't know what your issue was specifically. I know every issue that I have personally had, I've been able to get a good response, and it's solved. And the last one solved beyond belief to my personal satisfaction. I even thanked her. I was just blown away that, I could get a negative removed for something they didn't even return as long as they opened up the return. I can't imagine. It's not even that way on Amazon, mind you. If they opened up a return and didn't do it and they left you less than a 5-star on Amazon, there isn't much you can do. You can't really argue those most of the time. You can send in a request, but I've never had a response from any of those requests, truthfully. So, anyway. Are you registering new business entities for other stores? No, I am not. You do not have to do that as far as I say in this state. Now, we've got different venues that we have. Like the art business, I have a separate company for my art business. I do have a separate company name for Amazon and one of my other sites, just because I wanted to keep my flow of income separated. It all is paid and finalized into one account, one tax return at the end of the year. But my tax return has turned into some monster thing these days. It never used to be some big, huge thing. But, with all the business aspects of it, there's, we have labor, I got workman comp reports and, on and on and on. So, there's a lot to it. You try to separate it when you can, when you need to. But if you're just selling on the same platform, I don't separate it. I separate them by store level, but I do not separate them by a business name. It's just a different login. They're not linked to any account. Now, you can link your accounts together. Like our 2 anchor stores could have been linked where I could get, some better ratings on them. But I don't do that, because if there's an issue with one account, eBay will take them both down. So again, if you ever have an issue where they're suspicious or whatever the case may be, they'll shut you all down. Anything that's linked together, they can do whatever they want to. So just keep that in mind. So there are reasons to do some things, just like why I don't share the other store with you, just because I've got some insider stuff that's taken me years to get to, so I can't give away all my secrets, obviously. So, and I wouldn't expect anybody else to. Most people on YouTube that have eBay channels, do the same thing. The ones that don't are the ones that are risking it to some extent. So anyway, welcome, Robert. Let's see. Was unable to see my new store for 50 plus days. Posted committee board, and seller told me to fill in the standard fee for international sales. Have no idea why it worked, but it worked. Yeah, that's puzzling to me. I've never heard of anything like that. And I'm not sure what you mean by standard fee, unless you're meaning like a shipping fee. I'm not sure what that would even mean on there. I don't remember any line that says standard fee for international sales. I have no idea what that is. Welcome, Penny. Carnotaurus Hunter. That's an odd name. Very interesting. Well, thank you very kindly. I appreciate that. Let's get down here. Joshua James. Welcome from Wales. Yeah, one day I'm going to get to England. It's going to be a while. I've got friends that go there actually occasionally too. One day I would like to go. Ridge Hill Finds Jilly. Hello, welcome. Linda, welcome. Snowing in Kansas already. Wow. It's down into like 30 here, so it could snow anytime. Yes, please hit the like button if you do enjoy the video. I try to offer the best information I can. Yeah, anytime, Kathy, that happens, it happens here on our end sometimes, even when we're broadcasting. Reloading usually fixes it real quickly. It gets a whole new signal, basically, kind of thing. Let's see here. Robert, regarding postcards, are there any rule of thumbs regarding what postcards are not worth buying, mostly regarding dates and who printed them? There really isn't a rule of thumb. I usually don't mess with most chromes or newer ones. Chromes in general, I don't mess with new ones. If they're vintage 50s and they're from a nice era like a Tahoe chrome, I'll buy. There's some military base ones I'll buy. But chromes alone are the ones that I don't buy. Anything new, any of the ones that are bigger than the 3.5 by 5.5, I don't buy, unless they're California again. I don't buy folders unless they're from a specific area that I know sells. Tahoe again, or military bases. World War II ones do tend to sell. Mostly bases or military folders are the best ones to get if you're doing folders. Other than that, I don't mess with folders at all. I avoid those. Those are usually the ones I avoid. New ones, other than that. And there's some towns. San Francisco, I don't mess with, like, specifically inner San Francisco unless it's like the earthquake. 1906-07 ones. Big cities I don't mess with. I don't mess with most New York cards. I don't mess with most Philadelphia. There's some that I always look for, like West Virginia is always good. Small towns in Mississippi is always good. Tahoe, as I've said. Hong Kong, China, Shanghai. Canton, any of those kind of things are really good. I mean, just killer. If you get a real picture postcard from, say, 1910 of like the Great Wall or something, it's like $100 or more minimum for even a junk card. So anyway, you're asking this because I come across stacks of them from time to time in the bins, and it's not worth looking them all up on the spot. If they're vintage and cheap, yes. Now, again, it depends on the country. I don't buy foreign ones mostly at all, unless it's, say, something really interesting or a real small town. I've had some England ones of like trains and things like that I've gotten $150, $200, but they're all only real picture postcards. Again, as I said, foreign ones I always buy if they're China. China almost always sells. There's some, as I said, some England ones. There's a few Canadian ones that we do look for. But again, mostly all real picture postcard, and they're mostly all related to transportation. That's just what I see across the board. So hopefully that gives you a little idea. If it's like $5 and there's hundreds of them, I would probably just take a shot at it, because you're at least going to be able to turn that stack, for $10, I would gather, or more on eBay. You might get one in there that might go for $50, and the rest can just be scrapped. Who cares? You just made $40 if it's, a $5 investment by the time you've got fees and all into it. So at least that's how I look at it. Some people are frustrated snowflakes. I guess you could say that, yeah. They just don't know how to take it business professional-wise is my take on it. Most people who are doing eBay these days are new to it. They haven't run a business on their own. I take it serious. I take every dime in this as a professional, like I'm working for somebody else, a professional business, and I look at it that way across the board. It's just the way I have to do it. So I take it extremely serious. And I know people say, it's only a couple bucks. What are you worrying so much for? Well, you got to have standards, and you got to do the same thing every time. Consistency always pays off. So just keep that in mind, at least from my aspect of it. I talk about the same things because I do the same things. When we need to change something, I change it, though. So don't ever be afraid to change something when the rules or the guidelines or whatever else it is changes. So last week I bought about 150 of them, ranging from 1905 to 1979. Any advice on this for future finds? By weight, I pay 0.04 cents or 4 cents, less than a cent per card on average. It really depends on the cards. You could buy a stack of 150 of them for $1, and you may not get anything in there that might sell. So just keep that in mind. So I try not to get any lots that have been looked through. Go to, when you're at the estate sales, usually you're safe in an estate sale. The auctions, though, the live auctions, I'm always cautious. I'll look through a ton of them before I even decide whether I want to bid. I'll usually go to the preview and I'll look through them on the table while they're out there, so I don't know about what advice to give you other than doing your research. I can tell by looking at a bunch whether it's worth it or not, just because I've done this for so long. You know, if you're looking at a bunch of them, look for transportation, look for China, look for Tahoe or California in general, Bakersfield or something, you know, any of the oddball areas out there. None of the big towns are worth much at all. Any big town. You know, so just keep that in mind, because they made so many postcards of those big towns that I just don't mess with them. You know, most DC cards aren't worth money. Most, you know, Los Angeles cards aren't worth money. Detroit cards aren't worth money. You know, there's just, the big cities just aren't what you want. You want small towns, no floral. I never buy floral cards. I never buy birthday ones. Very selective. If I buy Easter, they're anthropomorphic. If I buy 4th of July ones, they better darn well have a lot of graphics in them. They better be 1910 or thereabouts. They better have firecrackers in them. Uncle Sam ones I always buy. Every Uncle Sam card I've ever had is sold real quickly. Santa cards, just because they're Santa too, every Santa Claus card does not sell. You might have to bulk them up. So, you know, an average Santa card might only go for $3 to $5. But some specific ones, like a winch Santa, you make it $50 for. You know, there's certain things to look for in the cards, like Santa Claus with a Christmas tree with candles in the tree. Those are early ones. Candles in a tree on anything are usually good ones because they're early. They took off candles at a certain point because of fire hazards. If it's the candle in the tree, chances are, you know, string lights were not available at that time. So that gives you an idea on the age on most of those Christmas items. I got another Christmas bolo coming out too, video coming out too. So I've had a lot of requests on the Christmas ones. There's still a lot of good Christmas items out there too, just FYI, including postcards. Welcome, Jerry. I bought 2 small items this week. Tracking says they were delivered. I didn't get them. The shipper is at fault. Someone else is going to lose. I wish there was a way to ding shippers. If it says it was delivered to your house, the only one that is liable would be the post office, I have to tell you. eBay will side with the seller if it shows delivered every time. You would have to contact the post office. Now, I know in some instances the post office here delivered a diploma for my wife to somewhere else. We never got it. It said it was delivered, but it never showed up. So, again, if it says delivered to you, you're out from the buyer. I can tell you, eBay will not help you at all. You might get a buyer protection case. They might give you a courtesy refund. But in all honesty, you probably won't get your money back from the seller at all. The post office is responsible once they say it was delivered, whether it was delivered or not. So, and I've had other people say something wasn't delivered and then it turned out their wife got it or something. And again, I'm not trying to say that was your case because stuff does say delivered. Now, there are some scammers. Now, the Amazon one, the ones who are, you know, copying other people's listings, they'd put a bogus delivery confirmation to some other item, and it would show it was delivered to some state, you know, 10 states away to people, and that's how they were catching them. But, you know, it doesn't show up till after they got the money and they've taken the money out of the account. So if you can show that it wasn't delivered to your address, you have a stake in the game, and you can challenge that with eBay under the buyer protection rules. So just keep that in mind. Again, once it's delivered, I'm safe, you're safe, but again, you're screwed if it says delivered and it's not at your house. So just FYI. There is a YouTube video out interviewing Uppity Up on eBay. Worth watching to see what is coming. I'm sorry, I can't read it all. Coming down the line. I saw part of that. I don't know if eBay's got, and do I have it on this laptop? I don't have it on here, but I'll have to post it. There's actually 2 sites that eBay, or 2 areas that eBay posts stuff on, like the Terra Peak and stuff like that, and you can get an inside look on it. I wished I had it. It's on the other PC, the other laptop over here, but I've tried to post that in another video. There's some other sources on there as well, too. Anyway, I'm not sure what uppity on there is, but anyway. Glad to hear that helped you on Italian time. Richard Johnson. Let's see here. Any thoughts on buying and selling glass negatives? Quality image will sell, but what about standard portraits, general scenery, family images? Um, it just depends on it. Most family images do not sell very high on glass plate negatives. I've got a stack of them here, and they're from the University of Ohio. There are buildings and inside stuff in the shops and all kinds of stuff like that. If you get them cheap enough, you can sell them in a lot, but your biggest problem on selling a lot of glass plate slides is shipping. They're very fragile. You have to put wafer board between each one, and there's a big stink. I've shipped them many times, so I like glass plate slides that I can sell individually because usually you get more. So I try to pass up the ones that are just people. Now dog ones can sell too, animals, and if it's like a city street scene, those always sell. Type in glass plate negative and trains, and you're going to see some really high ones there. Even just standard 35 millimeter negatives, or even snapshot negatives from stuff like that. Just the regular vellum or plastic, whatever they are made out of. I'm not even sure what they're made out of, vinyl or whatever the earlier plastic flexible negatives are made out of. But I try to avoid anything generalized, family or anything like that in glass plate slides. Now you might get one that people have outfits on or costumes, or it's earlier and they have like Victorian style clothing on. Now those can be worth some money too, depending on what they're wearing, but it's got to be something really spectacular from my personal experience. Yeah, Milkcap, talk to the mailman. He should be able to do something. Now, if it was delivered to the wrong address, I was under the impression, I haven't checked this part of it, I know they photograph it, but I was under the impression that there's tracking on the location the item was delivered, so there may be some way to prove that it wasn't delivered to your actual address. In some instances, we've had stuff that was delivered a street over to the same address as ours, and we were able to prove that it wasn't delivered because the postman was the same postman, and he told me I didn't deliver anything to you yesterday, and so I said, where's my package? He actually went and found it and went to the next street over and brought it back to us. It was opened, so anyway, I was a little perturbed at that, but it hadn't happened again since then. So they do make mistakes. Sometimes it's not an honest mistake. Sometimes it's somebody opening the packages and keeping it. There's many cases of postal employees stealing. There was the one I talked about not too long ago where someone stole over $500,000 in postage stamps and ended up selling them on eBay, and eBay's the one who reported them. So anyway, let's slide down here. FedEx, yeah, FedEx is a different. FedEx, I can tell you for sure, has tracking on the vehicle. They can actually GPS track where that vehicle delivered that package from everything that I've been told, because I have a FedEx account. We have FedEx pickup here, and we get delivery FedEx items. You should be able to complain to their main office and tell them that it wasn't delivered. Now, there is issues with this time of year that people follow some of these trucks and pick up the package off your porch. Or the FedEx driver could have left it somewhere odd, like in a bush or something. They won't even knock on the door at all anymore. UPS or FedEx or Airborne does not knock on your doors anymore. They just dump it off on your porch and leave. So again, people do follow us around. If you're in a city, people, that happens all the time. There's videos on people getting revenge and putting like firecrackers and stuff, or zappers that somebody picks up the box and they freak out and stuff. So, it's a big thing. People are stealing these packages. I know when a package is coming in since we work out of the facility, so I track it, and I always pay attention. We can hear them pull up, so at least we're lucky enough in that way. Yeah, PayPal will almost always refund the buyer. Now, you have protection, Cat Bodine, through PayPal on some of this too. The only way you're not going to get protection on PayPal is sometimes when they have a chargeback issue that way. And that's usually somebody who doesn't go through eBay knowing that eBay might, side with you. They'll just go and do a chargeback issue with their card or their bank. Yeah, Katie, always cancel and move on. That's exactly right. Canoe Creek Traders, welcome. I've been watching resellers on YouTube for a long time, and I just found your channel a couple weeks ago. I love the content. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very kindly. RVA Flips, so that sounds like it helped. Dave the Wave, welcome. Again, if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up for us here. It does help the channel somewhat. Sagan111, welcome. Mark Casarella, what about when everyone was talking about sending offers to watchers? What happened? When I said what I do for that, that's under the discount. So if, let's say, I've got 3 or more watchers on an item and it's been up for a couple of months, that means that you haven't priced it right, or something else is wrong with the listing. So what I do when that happens is and I don't send them to the watchers. I never do the offers to the watchers. I never pay attention to that. What I usually do at the end of the month, if the items have been up for a while, is I'll go into the markdown manager and I'll do a sales promotion for those items. Because that's all you need to do. And I'll do a whole bunch all at the same time. And when they go down in price, it actually automatically sends the watchers a notice saying an item on your watch list is now on sale. So that's all I worry about. I don't do from the emails. I don't even pay attention to the emails like that. You know, most of those just get trashed right away. I just do my routine. I do it at the same time every month. And I'll go in, as I said, look at what needs to be marked if there is something on a markdown, and I'll just go from there. If it has 6, 8, 9, 10 watchers and no bids, no offers or anything like that, you definitely have a pricing issue with it. So, you know, usually when I do that, I get sales off of it right off the bat. You know, within, say, a couple of hours, I'll get my first sale or 2 in. It depends on how many items you do that to. If I put up and I have watchers on, you know, I've got so many items, so sometimes we'll have, you know, more than 3 watchers on, say, 600 or 700 items. And, you know, I can send out a massive amount of them. I might sell 50 or so in the first 2 or 3 days out of those items. And that's pretty much an average right off the bat. You know, I don't rush to get the items sold. I'll keep them up at a high price as long as I can. And then when it just doesn't seem practical anymore, that's when I put them on sale. I won't change the price. I put them on sale because it looks like they're getting a better deal. Now, there are certain instances where I'll go back in and I'll actually lower prices. But again, I have a philosophy. I list stuff for a certain length of time high. After a certain date, I'll go ahead and mark them down a little bit. Not mark down, but change the price, lower the price. And then if they still don't sell, then I might just blow them out after, say, 6 to 8 months and then go from there. It depends on the item, though. Depends on its sellability, how long I've had the item, how much I know about the item. You know, if there's a ton of comps that they sell. One thing you got to think about when you're looking at comps on eBay, that's for 90 days. So if there's 2 items that sold, you know, similar to your item, they may have sold 93 months ago. So you got to take that in consideration. So that's a 3-month rotational list that you're looking at. So again, there's other factors in it. So if only 1 sold on a comp, it could have been 3 months ago. There may only be 2 of those items that the right person's online at any specific time, twice a year. So it may take you 6 months. It may take you a year to sell a specific item. So I'm never in a rush, just because once you have so many items up, you have a constant, you know, influx of sales. So anyway, it's like on when I'm doing videos from like some of the Bolo videos even, I try to weed out when I get offers in, but sometimes it's almost impossible. It's a certain time of the day or a certain day of the week that I just get a ton of them coming in and I just can't do it. I don't like having them pop up while I'm doing videos, but once in a blue moon there'll be a bunch come in and I just let them ride because it's just not worth trying to chop my videos up. But anyway, well, glad you enjoyed it, RVA Flips. Let's see if YouTube's gonna do it again. Saigon 111, do you have to add tax on when you make sales in CA? How does this tax thing work? I live in Michigan, have been charging tax on my sales. Do I have to? If you're selling in your state, you have to collect sales tax in your state. I don't collect sales tax from any other state but the one I am in, because that's how it works. And I only collect sales tax from people from my state. So if someone's from Ohio, you know, they're paying sales tax. I report my sales tax every 6 months in the state of Ohio. That's the requirement. I think you can do it sooner than that, but I have it set up every 6 months. I think it's 4 times a year. You can do it quarterly, but I do it every 6 months because the majority of my items go out of state. So, but you don't have to pay sales tax yet to any other state in the union. Now, technically, they say you're supposed to, but there's no law that can force you to. There's no collection agency that's making you do any of this at all. So the only tax you have to worry about is the tax in your state. Your state may be different, but I don't know of any state that I've personally dealt with, you know, sellers that I've talked to that say otherwise. You have to pay sales tax in the state you are in to someone buying from that same state. So in Michigan, if someone from Michigan buys from me, you have to collect sales tax and report it to the state. At least as far as I know. I don't sell in Michigan, you know, as a base for my place, so just keep that in mind as well. I know in Ohio, if I sell something to an Ohioan, I have to collect sales tax and report it. And there's actually a breakdown. There's a whole schedule. You can pop in the sales tax for every county and all this other stuff too, so just FYI. Yeah, a CPA is always good. I have a full-fledged accountant for several different things. We have two accountants we use, one for payroll and then one for taxes. If you're unsure, check it out. You can actually just call for free the State Department of Taxation, and so you won't have to pay for a CPA. But usually you can get a free meeting with a CPA once, depending on the CPA, so just keep that in mind. But I can almost guarantee you a CPA is going to tell you to do it. But just call the county and see. I wouldn't tell them you've been doing business and not collecting sales tax if you haven't, though, because you can open yourself up for some leverage against your license, because you have to have a license in almost every state that I am aware of. We have a license here in the county, and I'm also registered with the state. We've got DBAs with the state as well, too, for other businesses, too, that all tie to me, or my company specifically. So I've got a company name, and then I've got a bunch of different entities that are all tied to that through the state. Because what you do in the state of Ohio, you set up your actual business name, and then you do DBAs under that. And you have to pay each time you get a new DBA, but you can have separate companies if it's a husband and wife, and your wife can do some under her name, and you can do some under your name, and then you can file jointly at the end of the year. So I'm not a tax pro, so I'm not going to give you any specific recommendations, but calling the State Board of Taxation is your best, cheapest bet, or finding a CPA that will have one free consultation. Anyway, we're going to have to cut it off here in just a couple moments because we're almost down to the 8:30 mark. Hate to do that here because now we're almost up to 100 viewers, but I've got a tight schedule this week here. We've got some training going on and some other things that we've got, and I've got another person that's probably going to be working for us here soon. So I'm switching up some people here. So anyway, let me see here. The loss of eBay Radio. I've never even listened to eBay Radio, honestly. NH Guy, welcome. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I've never, honestly, John, listened to eBay Radio. I didn't even know there was a thing called eBay Radio. Making a general observation. Yep, that's fine. I appreciate it. No, I wasn't meaning any offense by Veranda Files. It's not always easy to tell what the meaning on some things is the way the chat goes, because then it takes a while for me to see it back down here. Yeah, I know you can make offers to watchers. I just do it through, I don't do any offers. I just do a markdown and go from there because, you know, if you're setting an offer, you're setting the price. If you throw a discount on there and they want to put an offer and I let them do it, and then I can counter from there. Because I may put in an offer that's lower than they would have paid for it. So, you know, I kind of always let them put the offer in first. It could be the difference of a whole bunch of money, so just keep that in mind. I try to always do that. I see profits. Let me see here. Yeah, it's always good to have two sources, I see profits. That's a good. I get the exact gist on that. Welcome, Jersey Pickens. This will have to be my last one here because Ian's got to go. Specific, diversified, digging the vids in Detroit and learned a lot, even in areas I'm familiar with. Thanks, I appreciate it. If you dealt much with letterpress halftone photo blocks or have any advice on selling, I've got 16mm film sitting right next to my foot. Letterpress, I've actually got an entire letterpress drawered cabinet in my garage that I got out of a warehouse. I sell letterpresses. We made in one day like $1,800 off just individual poster-sized letterpresses. I sell all of that like mad. I don't have any in-house because every time I get them, they sell immediately right off the bat. So anyway, letterpresses sell great. 16mm films sell great. Home movies, mass-produced ones as well. If you watch my Halloween special, I actually showed a bunch of movies that I picked up. I got 16mm included recently and 8mm. I even have 35mm reels here too, but we're going to have to cut it off, and I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's questions. I know I got pretty far down today. If I didn't call your name out, I do apologize. I'm trying to answer questions over everything else. But if you haven't smashed the like button, please hit the like button for us. We're going to cut it off right now, and I do wish everybody a good night. Again, you'll see some more videos coming out. I got a bolo coming out tomorrow, so pay attention to it. But that'll be it for the evening.